You're very quick. Yes, don't worry. Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for staying here. Really, there are a lot of people in this session, not only because they're participants, that we are a lot of participants, but because my students from the first course of journalism are here, because today I have classes with them. So there are no possibility that I have here in the conference and teaching at the same time. And I think it is very interesting for them that when you study journalism, you have to become a professional of journalism, but if you want, you can be a researcher as well. So this is a very, very interesting session for them. For us, of course, but for them, because maybe one of them could become a researcher in communication. That is a very, very interesting approach to our profession. This is the first session of the second part of the Congress. This session is called Viral Lies, Verified Truth, Fact-Checking and Disinformation on Social Media. We have a lot of speakers today in this session. And on the other side, I want to congratulate all the speakers because, as I said before, it's quite difficult to become a speaker because we had a lot of people with communication, and only we have accept more or less the 60% of them. We had a lot of people, so congratulations to the people who are here today. All of them were fascinating. Really, I learned a lot as a chair of the scientific committee. And now we start with the first of our communication, which is let me see, because I have to here. This is Stefano Lovi from University of International Study of Rome, so from Italy. Stefano Lovi is a PhD candidate at the University of International Studies at Rome. He obtained a bachelor's degree at the University of Annunzio in Chieti, it's the smallest in Italy, sociology and criminology. He graduated with a master's degree from unit in 2022 in investigation, crime and international security. And the title of your presentation is The Role of Social Media Platform in Amplifying Fake News and Rumors, Societal Risk in the Area of Unmoderated Content. So it's your turn. The floor is yours, so you can hear. Maybe, I don't know if because we have it in streaming, so I don't know where exactly you can put. I think it's better that you stay here, near the computer. Yes, you're right. Oh, thank you.
Because I have even the slides. So
you have the light here?
Yeah.
So you can just ask if you want to. You check here. Where is your light? Where is your slide?
I don't know.
You know? You sent your slide? Have you
did.
sent? Let me check about what happened.
Sure.
So, which one? So, okay. It's your turn, and welcome to Madrid and to our university and our campus.
Thank you very much. I'm very glad to be here to have the opportunity to talk in this prestigious conference. I will be very quick because I know that we are yet out of time. So I will go very fast here in the introduction, because today we are talking about disinformation and in general how the role of the social media that 2 decades ago they have emerged as a central role of the global information space. They revolutionized the way we produce, disseminate, and consume news. But there was even a another side of the coin that we didn't see at the moment, and now that is the massive spread of disinformation, conspiracy theories, and polarizing content. And in the recent years, we have even a trend of the regulation of content moderation policies, particularly on platforms like X and Meta, especially after the second election of Trump and the acquisition of Twitter by Elon Musk. So structural fact-checking tools have been reduced and disassembled, and the editorial responsibility has been generally abandoned. So the goal of this work was to analyze how the regulation of social media moderation has impacted on the circulation of the disinformation, and more specifically how it has facilitated the so-called parasocial leader of disinformation. So I adopted an empirical and comparative approach based on the digital observation. The starting point was the analysis of Telegram channels that were known for spreading disinformation and fake news. And from this channel, I analyzed some X accounts that were very often relaunched as sources or amplifiers of this kind of disinformation and narratives. And then I used the Wayback Machine to collect, I don't know if any of you know what is the Wayback Machine. If you don't know, check for it, because it's a very useful tool when it works. And so I use this Wayback Machine to collect historical data on the number of followers and visibility of these profiles before and after the acquisition of Twitter by Musk in October 2022. And particular attention was paid to those accounts that were open from a very long time. Some of them were open even from 2009. And this approach allowed to observe the evolution of these accounts from a diachronic perspective, even if the platform does not give to the scientific community this kind of data anymore. And the results were very clear, even if the limited data available did not allow for a large-scale analysis. So after November 2022, most of the analyzed accounts experienced an exponential growth. Some of them, we are talking some of them that get an increases exceeding the 1000% in a single year. If someone is wondering, the account number 18, there is that vacuum from May 2022 to November because the account was banned. So not because there wasn't the data, but because the account was banned. And so this suggests a clear correlation between the reduction of moderation policies and the amplification of disinformation networks. And of course, there are even some methodological limitation. The sample of accounts is small, and the data available on the Wayback Machine does not allow for the reconstruction of complete time series of all the accounts that I would like to analyze. But the trend is pretty much clear and encourages more in-depth studies. So these findings tell us that when platforms reduce controls, they don't simply suspend their regulatory function, but they transfer communicative power to coordinated strategic actors. And this is not just a technical issue, but it's a democratic one. And to conclude, yes, the first strategy consists in this scenario consists in independent fact-checking and debunking, but they alone cannot be the only tool for a long-term strategy. Indeed, we need more regulation and media education and digital literacy. And I finished. I was told that
thank you so much. So you think
quick.
we need more regulation? You think we need more regulations? Is your approach?
Maybe yes.
Maybe yes.
Not just that,
yeah.
because we should invest on the citizenship and on the users, but yes, maybe
Yes, well, I agree. Some questions, some quick question for this speaker.
maybe they were after.
Sorry?
No, was after the.
No, but
Okay.
anyway, if there are some quick question, no problem. So no other question now. So now the following speaker, who is which is Kobe Emma Osidian Bekoy from Ghana, India, is not here. So we have another one, which is this third one with Brogan Latil from University of Amsterdam. Are you? It's your turn. You both. But here we have the bio of one of you. So if you can introduce you, because we have the bio of Brogan Latil, which is a lecturer of media study at the University of Amsterdam. His research interest coverage around the everyday politics of technology, such as platform moderation, techno-epistemologies and ideologies inscribed in procedural system. And the title of your presentation is Between Interface and Practice, Exploring Community Nodes on X as a Tool for Fact-Checking. So welcome to Madrid, welcome to our university. The floor is yours.
Great.
It's your turn.
Thank you, Carlos.
Introduce your partner.
Yeah, it looks like our
Have you-
reparar.
Let me see. Let me.
Maybe we can plug in.
No, because I think it's better from here. Let me check.
Okay.
Wait to the. This is your turn to Amsterdam, which is a very beautiful city.
Oh yeah, it is.
Okay, are we ready? All right.
Yes.
Thank you for your patience. My name is Brogan. This is Bastian, as you just said. We're both very happy to be here. And our third colleague, our co-author on this paper, Lydia, can't be here today. She's at another conference presenting at this very moment, actually. So today we're going to present some work, as Bastian said, that began in the Digital Methods Summer School at the University of Amsterdam on the epistemic processes that are happening in community notes, right? And so on one hand, we want to look at the community notes system, right? Its affordances, its algorithms. But on the other hand, we want to look at how contributors are actually performing truth, right? Or fact-checking within this system, yeah? So just out of curiosity, who here in this room is familiar with community notes? Okay. Okay, that's great, because now we get to kind of do our job, right? So community notes began on Twitter under Jack Dorsey in 2021 in a project called Birdwatch, which was not yet publicly available. It was still an experiment. And when Elon Musk purchased the platform in 2022, he fired the trust and safety team and their human platform moderators and basically shifted attention to community notes, right? So he rerouted all of platform moderation through community notes. And community notes invites anonymous users to apply to become contributors to add helpful context to posts, to problematic posts. This is the language that X uses, not me, right? But in doing so, one of the main premises of this system is that it reallocates epistemic authority from journalists, independent fact-checking institutions, right, to the public, right, to the users of the platform. So in order for a note to work, right, contributors propose and vote on notes in a closed doors interface that's not accessible to other non-contributor users on the platform. And a note becomes published beneath a post, kind of like the traditional fact check, right, through consensus, an algorithmically mediated form of consensus. And this occurs when at least 3 contributors agree on the helpfulness of a note, but these contributors have to have opposing political ideologies, which are measured by an algorithmic system, which is a different problem we're not going to talk about today, okay? So, so it shifts epistemic authority from experts to the public, right? And it's premised on consensus building across ideological camps. So, in these premises are some promises that Elon Musk and X makes to the public, which is that community notes will allow for diverse, decentralized, free, and community-based truth production. So in this, Musk has framed community notes as the answer to disinformation online due to its hypothetical speed and scale at which it is hypothetically able to operate at, but also in its premise of popular consensus, which theorizes that by involving as many different voices as possible in the process, right, that the people can combat a global media system run by corrupt elites, right? And this gets into the political nature of community notes, and it's something that Alice Marwick might call populist expertise. Okay, so two main discourses have emerged around community notes since 2022, and the first comes from academic and journalistic sources that we are witnessing the end of platform moderation. And then the second main discourse is on the side of the platform that X is shifting knowledge production from censorship to free speech, right? But what these two discourses have in common is that they both obscure the mechanisms of containment that X constructs into the processes and output of truth production through its interface, affordances, algorithms, and user guidelines. So this goes back to very foundational kind of epistemic questions that undergird journalism as well, right? So such a perspective asks us to view community notes as an epistemic infrastructure, which is a system that facilitates epistemic labor and then circulates its output, right, the fact. So in this project, we are interested in how community notes contributors navigate and perform epistemic labor within the confines of the community notes interface, the interface being just one site of its general infrastructure. Okay, so what actually happens here? And we break this into two levels. One, concentrating on affordances. How does the platform pre-design epistemic labor through its interface? And then second, on contributor practices, right? What epistemic and communicative practices emerge here?
Exactly, and now I'm going to talk briefly about our methods that we applied. So they are basically kind of complementary to each other. So the first one is an affordance analysis, specifically a discursive interface analysis we performed in order to get a sense of, okay, what norms, what user behavior is actually produced through the interface design. And the second one are the contributor practices. So we have a quantitative approach, the macro approach, which basically uses all the, at this point of date, available community notes data provided by X Online. The problem with this data is that it's super messy, so it needed a lot of cleaning. And we were especially interested in the helpful notes that actually got produced and therefore also published. And then we also have a qualitative approach, a little micro approach. So we took a random sample of 66 community nodes. Then we used some emergent coding to basically see, okay, what are the actual practices that we can view within on X, basically. And these two then, so the affordances and the practices together basically tell us how community node contributors do, in this case, truth on X.
So it should be mentioned that this project is a work in progress. So we have a collection of findings. We haven't finished interpreting them, and we plan on collecting more data, actually. But we want to give you just a few, right, a small number of findings in our affordance analysis and then their corresponding user practices, right? And we'll begin with communicative practices and the observation that within this communitarian consensus-based system, there is no affordance for peer-to-peer deliberation between contributors. So this is the post with notes page, what the contributor would see when they go to write a post or review notes proposed by other contributors. So here the contributor is given an option to vote on a note based on the criteria, is this note helpful, right? And they can select yes, somewhat, or no. Yeah, and if they select one of these options, then they're presented with a drop-down menu with some options for specific feedback, which kind of resemble some naive understanding of journalistic integrity, right? But this feedback never actually reaches the original note writer. Instead, it's filed into the algorithmic management system, which affects a note's publishability. So communication doesn't occur between contributors, but between a contributor and the algorithmic ranking system, which uses their feedback to determine the value of a note. Okay, so in lieu of a deliberative affordance or a communicative affordance, what we see in user behavior and contributor behavior is actually kind of a misuse of community notes, indicating that there is a desire for some form of deliberation here. So I think for the sake of time, this is really interesting, but maybe we skip it. Basically, we see contributors forming kind of playful in-groups, communities within community notes, as opposed to actually kind of verifying or fact-checking or context driving, right, some kind of post. I think what's maybe more startling is that contributors end up misusing notes to police each other. And this often occurs around a disputed purpose of community notes, which Bastian will talk about in just a minute. Right, so so basically we see contributors policing each other by referring to platform guidelines, legitimacy of sources used, and like I said, the purpose of community notes. So rather than addressing the post itself, contributors direct their attention to and dispute each other's behaviors and practices. So where the contributor is also the police, we see anonymous and ambient communities within community notes emerging around the political aesthetics of appropriate use, right? And more generally, interpretations of community notes' purpose.
Okay, and now I'm briefly going to talk about the epistemic practices that we saw. So the first thing is basically that the purpose of community notes is super ambiguous. And we can see that by words that X actually used, that notes should be helpful and they should always have context, but what that actually means is not really defined. And we can see that then in the community note section when somebody writes a note. So here he says NNN, which basically means no note needed. And then in the second line he says community notes are not for reports. So apparently this community note contributor thinks that community notes is actually not for reporting misuses of the platform, but other contributors still use it as such. And then we have the next practice, which is on the sourcing knowledge. So basically, links should always be provided if you write a note. And you cannot write a note without providing any link, which basically means that you have to put some sort of link. It doesn't have to work, but it still has to be there. And that also means that you can still click on, no, this link that I provided is not trustworthy, which then, makes the whole purpose kind of ambiguous. And here we have another note that actually links a comment that was written by Grok, the AI chatbot, and he's referring to this as some kind of reliable source. And so in our quantitative analysis, we then basically saw that most of the domains used in community nodes are other platforms, especially X as the most used platform. So they basically refer either to other posts or they refer in specific instances to the terms of services or the policies that actually the platform has. So it's rather a practice of policing each other and reporting certain scams on the platform than actually using it for fact-checking.
So I'd love to talk to you about our theoretical avenues, but I think we're probably out of time.
Yeah,
right?
we are. Yes, I think it's better at the end of the.
Okay.
Anyway, any quick question, but only yes, one of the.
Shouldn't the committee know?
Sorry, you need a microphone because we have recorded all that. That's one. This is one of my students.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's
Yeah, it's great to see so many students in the room, by the way. This is awesome, like the best kind of audience.
I think it's interesting for me.
Shouldn't the community notes on Twitter give the identity of the people who post them, so we know who said that?
I think this is very much against kind of the platform's wishes for community notes. They want to encourage a kind of anonymous information system where maybe individuals might post, let's say, or write notes that contain some non-popular opinions, right? Or that these contributors wouldn't feel comfortable doing on the platform linked to their identities. The question, should this be de-anonymized? I don't think I want to make a normative claim about that kind of thing, but I think the implications of community notes would look very different if we knew who the contributors were, for sure.
Okay, thank you.
So this the last question. Thank you for your presentation. Congratulations for your findings, and your methodology is quite difficult to apply.
It was very systematic. Yes.
Anyway, congratulations.
Thank you.
And now we have the following, which is Letizia Sacco, which is you. Letizia came from the University Politecnico di Torino, so it's the second Italian. Sorry. We have to read. Letizia came from Italy as well. You're the second Italian that's this morning. She comes from Politecnico di Torino. Letizia is a PhD candidate in urban and regional development. Her works adopt a mixed methods approach, combining qualitative analysis of institutional practice and interviewers with digital methods. Leticia's academic background bridge communication, media study, and digital methods. And the title of her presentation is Climate Disinformation Network: The Influence of Anti-Green Micro-Influencers on Telegram and X. So it's your turn. You have to. This is okay, great. Thank you so much for coming here and welcome to
thank
Spain.
you actually for inviting me and accepting.
Torino is a very, very beautiful city as well. In order to go there, and we have
Thank you.
half our student can go there as well.
Thank you.
Not only to Amsterdam. So your turn.
So good morning, everyone. I'm Letizia Sacco. As he said, I'm a PhD candidate at Polytechnic of Turin. And today I'm going to present my latest research that is related to micro-influencers and how are they spreading disinformation narratives online, especially on X and Telegram, related to environmental and climate change narratives. So our study is based on 4 different countries that are Italy, France, Spain, and the Netherlands. And we wanted to focus on eco-skeptical micro-influencers, so people that are spreading conspiracy theories on these social media platforms. And we used a mixed methods approach that is a social network analysis plus a discourse analysis. And the time frame that we used is between January to April 2025, so the first quarter of this year. So as a brief introduction to the European context, the public debate on the green transition reached a new peak, but with these conferences that were made related to the green transition and the climate change problematic, actually it brought more skepticism than trust on the people because of some key political events that were, the first one was the Declaration on Sustainable AI that was signed in Paris at the beginning of this year. And this declaration was actually very criticized because the politicians that took part of this conference actually they didn't bring the topic of the climate problem that the AI use can actually bring. So it was very criticized because of this. Then, of course, the Valencia flooding that actually brought a lot of disinformation here because of the far right parties that spread a lot of disinformation related to it. And then in the Netherlands, there was a big investment related to the battery storage that actually brought a lot of contradiction because together with this investment, there was also a big investment on the fossil fuels. And so the people didn't see the correlation between these two kind of investments. So we wanted, with these studies, to map the climate disinformation on X and on Telegram, and we choose these two social media because X, of course, is famous to be, let's say, a nest for a lot of disinformation theories and conspiracy theories, and also Telegram, since it is less controlled kind of social media, the disinformation can spread more virally there. And we focused on these 4 countries because of the different kind of energy policies that they have. And we want to identify key actors and key narrative frames related to disinformation on climate change and find similarities between and differences between these 4 countries. So for the research questions, we have who are the climate micro-influencers, how do they construct and sustain digital ecosystem disinformation, and what are the most used polarizing narratives. As a theoretical framework that we start with is the first one is Falkenberg, that in his study found that Twitter is a key platform for political and media analysis, especially related to climate related content. So that's why we decided to focus a lot on X. Then Monachi and their colleagues found that conspiracy theories on Twitter actually gain more traction through the use of key influencers. And Moreno Cabanillas found that in his study found that disinformation networks actually are related to each other. So usually we found a different kind of disinformation narratives, such as the climate change one, related to other kind of disinformation like immigrants or vaccine disinformation. We used a mixed method approach, so a quantitative and qualitative one. With the quantitative one, we did a social network analysis on the posts that we scraped with using the University of Amsterdam tools. That are Zisheimer and Furcat, and the thematic discourse analysis of narrative frames that we found on the post that we scraped. As for the data source, we used the country-specific keywords on the 2 platforms that we focused on. These keywords were then translated on the different languages of the countries that we wanted to study, and they were focused on some main topics that were climate change, greenwashing, eco-terrorism, and Fridays for Future. And we used a VPN in order to simulate the presence on the country, and our dataset size was between 20,000 posts, so enough for both the quantitative and the qualitative analysis. Telegram is a not very geographic centered network, so we start to find our channels. We actually started with the dataset on X that we scraped in the beginning, and then we found the different links to Telegram that were shared on X. And from that dataset of Telegram links, we then did another social network analysis in order to find the most mentioned channel, and we found these channels that actually they are not only from the 4 countries that we wanted to study, but that is normal because it's not geographically constrained, Telegram. Then we found the 3 dominant narrative frames that we will discuss later, and some platform-specific dynamics, such as on Telegram, it is more radical and emotional with a lot of satire, and on X is more pseudoscientific and data-focused rhetoric, with some links to other kind of conspirational ecosystem, like I said, vaccines and immigrants. As for the first frame that we found, we have the anti-activism frame. So the activists were shown as brainwashed actors and paid actors, like Greta Thunberg, and a lot of links to extremism, so saying that the activists are actually extremists and bringing people to do bad things, actually, and not helping the people, and links to mental instability. Then the second frame is the distrust towards science and media, so ridiculating climate experts, and a lot of conspiracy theories were found, especially on Telegram, such as HARP, chemtrails, and geoengineering. And minimizing the scientific evidence. Then for the third one, it was a more emotional kind of frame, more satirical with irony and mocking the green policies and the Agenda 2030, with a lot of satirical attacks on regulations. As for the national influences, we found 3 for every country that we studied. So for Italy, we have climate critics, Boni Castellano and Official Tozzi. Actually, Official Tozzi is not anti-green kind of influencer, because he wants to spread, actually he is pro-science, and it's on the counter discourse. So he wants to help the official narratives related to climate change. Then for France, we have Jean de Lorraine, Alexandre Jardin, and Fabien Bouglet. Alexandre Jardin actually is very interesting because he's a populist critic of low emission zones. So because he critiques these kind of zones because he thinks that this kind of law actually brings differences between people, because there are people that simply cannot afford to buy a new car just to go to the city because of this kind of zone. So is an interesting kind of narrative that we found. Then on the Netherlands, we have NL Rebellion, Frans Timmermans, and Moe Waitin. Actually, Moe Waitin is an interesting account because she bridges between anti-immigration and anti-green narratives. So she links these two kind of narratives together. And then for Spain, we have Santiago Abascal, Hercles, and Guillermo Rocafort. So Santiago Abascal is interesting because actually he's the leader of Vox, so he's not really a micro-influencer, but he's really interesting because of his anti-environmentalistic kind of narrative. So I think it's very interesting. As for the research questions, we have found that the micro-influencers are individuals between 1,000 and 100,000 followers, and they are seen as very near to the people that they want to talk to, and that's why they have a lot of grip to their followers, because they see these people as similar to them, so they believe more on their narratives. Then how do they construct and sustain the digital ecosystem is through hashtags, tweets, mentions, and some very specific kind of narratives with conspiracy theories already very important in the digital ecosystem. And the most used polarizing narratives is the delegitimization of climate activism and the distrust towards science, especially on mainstream media. So, as for the conclusions, micro-influencers are central in shaping climate disinformation, and climate disinformation is intertwined between identity and political struggles. And as for the future work, we would like to link influencer typologies to platform affordances in order to have more tailored interventions.
Oh, thank you so much. Very interesting. It's really amazing that people still believe in conspiracy theories such as HARP.
Exactly.
It's really
yes. It's very interesting.
Surprising. Some quick question. Another one? Yes, all the questions are from the students. Very interesting. Yeah, very clever students. So
you have talked about the implication of fake news of people who support and who tries to increase the implication political of radical parties.
Okay.
But in Italy, where you're from, a radical right-wing party have won the elections.
Yeah.
How percentage of implication had that fake news and that Twitter accounts on the win of Giorgia Meloni on the last elections? Thank you. Grazie.
Good question.
Okay.
Difficult one.
It's a very difficult one. Actually, I didn't focus on the politicians, as you could have seen on the influencers, because I wanted actually to find the micro-influencers. So I didn't actually link between politicians and disinformation, but of course, the winning of Giorgia Meloni, of course, brought a lot of disinformation, but I don't think, especially on climate change, kind of disinformation, if I have to be honest. It's mostly about other topics. So I don't think that in Italy, especially, you would have found something related to that on X or Telegram, whatever. But I think that you thought about this question because I found Spain, kind of,
Yes,
exactly. But the reason that I found him and that I found that he was really interesting is because of the Valencia flooding. So he tweeted a lot about this kind of topic. That's why I found this kind of account. So I think it's because he is more related to this kind of disinformation rather than Giorgia Meloni is not. But I don't know if this is the right question.
So thank you so much. Only one question. So another question. Well, if you want to, yeah, okay.
If there is still time.
Yes, we're
Yes,
more or less.
Thank you, Leticia, for your presentation. I got here a little bit late, so I didn't get to understand how you define micro-influencer, less than 100,000 followers, I guess. And then my second question, so you mentioned that one of the frames is ideological antagonism, and you mentioned something that is very interesting, satirical attacks on regulation. I think that it's being used, all satirical things to disinform. Just wonder if you could put an example for me to understand how these satirical attacks on regulation are, or we can discuss it later if there is no time now. But just to mention how important is being used, is being weaponized, all the satirics to disinform.
Very quick answer, please.
Very quick. Maybe we can discuss the satirical part later, I think. But for the first part, how I found these kind of accounts is because I started by scraping every post from X, and then I did a social network analysis and found these clusters, and let's say the leader of these clusters were micro-influencers. That's how I found them. Actually, I didn't start exactly. I thought, like, my first research question was about finding micro-influencers, but then the answer was yes. The leader of the clusters were micro-influencers, especially. So this is how I found them.
Thank you so much. This is the key
Thank you.
points, then the cluster and the cluster. Thank you so much. And now it's the turn of let me see, we have in order. Alfonso de Paz is here. Okay. It's our Spanish representative because we are the only Spanish today. Alfonso de Paz is a computer engineer, so researching media. So it's a very interesting approach for that. He works in the Spain's National Research Council, which is the most researcher space in Spain, and the title is quite difficult because when I don't understand very much, it was the development of information retrieval and NLP tools for longitudinal study of disinformation in Telegram. So it's true. It's
Yes,
right.
yes.
So
I am a work in process.
Research. Okay.
Yes. Quiero ocultar esta pantalla porque quiero poder meterme en mi Google.
Why an engineer are interested in media? It's not common, I mean. But That's very interesting, the approach of an engineering in mass media. Always agree, no? To agree, okay.
Sorry, I need to.
Sometimes it's quite difficult.
Calle Serrano.
Okay, well, in the city center, but near from here.
Okay,
So your turn.
so over the past decades, social media has shifted from simple entertainment spaces to key tools for social communication, even dispatching traditional media outlets. Platforms such as Twitter, Facebook, more recently Telegram, TikTok, or Discord have created environments where people from communities around specific interests or ideologies. In this point, Telegram has earned a prominent place thanks to its ability to manage channels with large number of users. Also, it's launched in 2013, but he started as a messaging application like WhatsApp, and he turned it into a community application for create communities. What is important in Telegram? Channels can host hundreds of thousands of participants, reaching millions of users. Also, it acts as powerful coordination engine because users can move quickly from inside to outside the application. And furthermore, it's highly resistant to censorship because it's not controlled by any government. So we can extract some examples. For example, in the Hong Kong protest in 1918, protested relied on Telegram for coordination. They created channels where they plan routes, they share information, for example, where the police was, and also they voted inside the application and they turned these decisions quickly in the streets. This was so important that Telegram suffered a DDoS attack instigated by China. Another example, Albice Pérez turned his Telegram channel into the hub of his campaign instead of using traditional media. What was the reward of using only Telegram? His political party, Se Acabó la Fiesta, won 3 seats in the 2024 European elections with 800,000 votes. What's happened here? Telegram is prone to create echo chambers or informational bubbles. Why? Inside each community, people only talk with people which share the same opinions. And over time, the same shared opinion becomes the only acceptable truth. So for study this, we created a methodology. First of all, we extracted text of conspiracy theories or disinformation debates. From this text, we extract a lexicon of keywords, and we use these keywords to search Twitter accounts that use them. In these Twitter accounts, we extract all the Telegram channels that they share, and we ingest these channels in a platform that we are developing. We repeat this in a loop to increase the data lake. So the platform, So the platform was developed for social listening to monitor Telegram channels and process and use this data with artificial intelligence pipelines. So new messages are scanned automatically, and we enrich this information using name identity techniques, sentiment analysis techniques, and also embeddings inference techniques. We store all this information in relational databases, but also in vector databases for semantic search and semantic analysis. For example, clustering. All this application works through an API for remote access. So for the creation of the dataset, we only take channels, not groups, because in the channels, the administrators were, because on that channels act as a broadcast spaces where only the administrations set the narrative. The filter was a channel that existed until February 24 of 2020, and also only Spanish channels. Finally, we get 53 channels and more than 1.2 million of messages. We aggregate all these messages in weeks, giving 889 weeks up to September 7th of this year. So before this graphic, we standardize it with frequency in we're using Z-score metric. Why? With Z-score, we can normalize the growth over time, so we can compare different periods. For example, a very high week in 2020 and a very high week in 2024. Also, we can highlight anomalies, outliers. And inside the platform we are developing, we can let the platform to automatically flag periods of interest. So we highlight 4 periods, and using a simple workload analysis, we can know what's happening inside those periods. So the first one was January of 2021, about the USA elections of United States. About all the discussion about these elections and the Capitol attack. But also in Spain, we can see things like the first vaccination campaign. The second period highlighted is about the start of the Russian invasion in Ukraine. Also, the third period was about the attacks on the Lebanese frontier. We can see here a lot of time Mayadeen. Mayadeen is a pro-Irani media outlet, very close to the Syrian government and Hezbollah, setting the narrative of this situation. And in the last period was the conflict between Iran and Israel. After this, we use a Luke dictionary to calculate anger, and also we create an anger index to see how has evolved the anger through the weeks. We spot top 5 points of anger, and if we extract a screenshot of those times, we can get important periods of interest. Finally, we split the channels in 2 groups: high frequency groups, low frequency groups. We are going to compare them.
Yes, we are on time, so
okay. We smooth the graphic, and we know that we can see that high frequency channels, those channels who speak more, also spread more anger. And thank you.
This is very interesting. very interesting to measure anger. It's very interesting to measure anger, and I think
Yes.
it's complicated to collect the data. Maybe then you can ask
Okay.
about you can talk about the data and how to collect the data, because
Perfecto.
I think it is very, very important. Thank you so much
To you,
for
thank you.
coming to the Serrano Street, which is very, very important street in Spain. Now it's the turn of, let me see, Denis Javorik. Okay, Denis Javorik. Denis Javorik has been, he's from University of San Cyril in Trnava in Slovakia. Denis Javorik has been working in the Faculty of Mass Media Communication since 2019. He's completed his study in marketing communication, both undergraduate and graduate level. In his research, he focuses mainly on advertising and advertising literacy, disinformation, and political marketing. And the title of his presentation is Strategic Communication on Social Media in the Fight Against Disinformation and Analysis of Slovak Ministry of Interior before the 2023 parliamentary election. So it's interesting, and welcome to Spain.
Thank you very much. First of all, let me begin by saying a thank you for the opportunity to present at this
Thanks to you,
Congress.
Takam.
Thank you. So, as it was said, my topic deals with strategic communication on social media of our own Ministry of Interior before the 2023 parliamentary elections, which were the last elections held in Slovakia. Now, before I begin, I understand that many of you and probably all of you don't know much about Slovakian politics, so just a quick intro. Slovakia in recent years has faced many waves of disinformation campaigns, especially after the war in Ukraine started, and unlike in many other countries where Telegram is the most used platform when it comes to spreading disinformation, throughout the years we found out that in our country Facebook still remains the one that's being used, since 88% of Slovaks use Facebook daily, and even Gen Z, which mostly transitioned to Instagram and TikTok, still use Facebook to communicate with their parents and peers and etc. So Facebook is still the main platform when it comes to the spread of disinformation in our country. In the 2023 elections, there were multiple narratives, so to undermine the confidence of the electoral process, because there were basically two main blocs that fought for the victory. One was pro-European, and one was more oriented towards the east, let's say that. And our ministry decided that they want to combat disinformation through their own social media platform. So just very briefly, we have a multi-party system with over 270 registered parties that can compete in elections. In the last elections, 25 of them participated. It's very easy to participate in our elections. You basically have to put 15,000 euros as a party, which you get back after reaching 1% of the vote, which is not that much. And as the colleague before me said, the situation when it comes to social media and when it comes to media, more the traditional media like TV and radio, the situation is that on social media there are a lot of echo chambers that work where people group up and they usually just form their own opinions in them. And therefore, Slovakia has decided to launch an initiative that aims to combat hoaxes, fake news, and disinformation. This still is an initiative that is directly under the Ministry of Internal Affairs and under the police of the Slovak Republic. It's called Hoaxes and Frauds. And just before I go through the results of this initiative, our research objective was to, through an analysis, identify which formats and which tones were the most useful in communication against hoaxes, and to evaluate the performance and engagement of these different posts. So we chose intentionally to focus specifically on the week before elections, which I know is a very, very short period, but it's also the most important period when it comes to spreading disinformation in political campaigns before the elections. And we just wanted to understand how ministry shaped its social media content to debunk hoaxes and disinformation. We chose the mixed approach method. So we basically sampled all 40 posts that they communicated on the Facebook page. And then we conducted our own thematic analysis to identify which content and which topics resonated the most.
The results, okay.
And the results are, so they, as I said, they posted 40 times throughout the week. I would like to point out that in our law system, there are two days before elections where politicians cannot communicate through traditional media such as TV, radio, etc. Social media currently isn't one of them, so they can communicate even minutes before elections through social media. And I would like to point out that the Ministry of Internal Affairs decided that they want to time most of their points before the elections. 30th September was the day our elections were being held. So they also reached the most page interactions that day, which showcased the clear strategy that they wanted to post the most posts during this time. They chose the photo format, which is the easiest to consume. It's very, very quick communications. Also, they added a few short videos throughout these 2 days. And then on the 30th, they chose to be intentionally silent and didn't want to provide any reason as to showcase that they want to interfere in the elections or something like that. And the engagement declined, even though there were more posts throughout that week, which showcases that audience oversaturation and repetitive formats do not necessarily translate to higher engagement on social media. And they were competing for attention from political parties. Basically, just to shorten it, if they wanted to communicate effectively, they needed to use strong emotional appeal, not just rationally debunking whatever disinformation came that week. And they used humor, which is very, very useful because it's a strong emotion. And just a few examples, there was an AI-generated fake speech of one of the political leaders, which was released on Facebook a day before the elections. And the police decided that they just, the quality at that time of that AI recording was so bad, it was so obvious, and there were still people that believed it. So, so they basically decided that they just want to mock it and make fun of it. Another example is that a hoax came from one of the parties, that there are paper ballots and the pens that you use to check which candidate you want to vote for, that they're erasable, which is one of the most common hoaxes for elections that use paper ballots. So the police decided they just want to meme the hell out of it, and they just posted a lot of memes that day about that. So it turned out to be the most effective way. So just to provide some key insights from ZoomSphere is that emotions drive engagement, and it's very, very important that if you want to combat disinformation from a state perspective, you still need to rely on emotions, not just on some strategic standpoint that you just want to write down.
You have only
yes, I understand.
A second.
Okay, so basically,
yes.
just if you want to combat disinformation from a state perspective, you have to use strong emotions that are on the opposite spectrum of those targeted disinformation. So that's it.
So thank you so much. This is similar to Spain, so anyway.
Okay.
Thank you so much. We have no time for questions.
Yes, okay, thank you.
Anyway, we have a period with the food in, and people can ask you any question. And now it's the turn of Tessa Tribe. Tessa Tribe from More in Common, the UK. We are out of time. The student, we are changing the student. You can go out, and then came another type of students. We had two types of students this day. So you.
Should I wait?
Tessa is an adaptable development of a page building professional with a versatile background in research, fundraising and project management. Her academic background is in conflict and memory study, which is very interesting approach. And the title of her presentation is Misinformation and Gaming: How can we build resilience to disinformation among groups who destruct mainstream institutions and resist over educational effort? Let me, sorry, I have the microphone, sorry. And we wait a minute because there came other students in this moment. So they can go here. You know what happened? That's we wanted that students.
No, it's really fantastic.
Students participate in the Congress, because I think it's very interesting for them. Because usually in journalism, people think that only they have to be a practitioner of the profession and not an academician. I think it is both approaches are important. So for that, we are in this moment from changing, and the class are some timetable, strictly timetable for that, and then we change the students. So it's your turn. I think I have to repeat the title: Misinformation and Gaming. How can we build resilience to disinformation among groups who distrust mainstream institutions and resist over educational effort? We are out of time, but no problem. We're in Spain, so.
I'll do my best. Hola, ¿qué tal?
Oh, you speak Spanish as well. Does speak Spanish? So.
Yeah, I'm Australian, working for a UK company, but I live in Barcelona.
Okay, great. Would you prefer Barcelona or Madrid?
This is my first time in Madrid. So I've had only about 8 hours here, and so far the weather has been terrible.
Okay. So
maybe I'll come back in summer.
Yes.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I apologize for taking up your time into the lunch break, but thank you for sticking around, and thank you, students, for popping in. So today I am presenting on behalf of my organization, More in Common, and we're an international not-for-profit that uses values-based segmentation to understand societies beyond traditional demographics, identifying shared values and overlooked groups to inform strategies for social connection. This project, on their terms, we partnered with the AKO Storytelling Institute at the University of the Arts London, which explores storytelling, how it can drive social change using creative methods like game design and narrative development. At More in Common, our research shows that people who feel disconnected from mainstream society and mistrust traditional media are also the most vulnerable to disinformation and misinformation. Yet most media literacy initiatives fail to reach them, often because they're designed around demographics rather than psychology. In this session, I'm going to share how we're rethinking this, and together we've been experimenting and working on new ways to meet these audiences where they are. So both research as well as project implementation. Our approach was using video games, one of the most powerful storytelling spaces for these groups, to build psychological resilience to misinformation and disinformation. We'll explore what happens when game designers, researchers, and practitioners collaborate to create interventions that are not didactic, but genuinely meeting these disengaged individuals on their own terms. And I'm going to cut through a few slides because, I am aware of
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I used to organize a conference. It's stressful stuff.
So using our United Kingdom-based segmentation model, we identified the disengaged battlers, is what we called them, as the group most vulnerable to mis- and disinformation. They are disconnected from politics and the wider society, often juggling multiple jobs, caring roles. They often feel very lonely and they have very low trust in institutions. They usually trust only 25% of sources like the National Health Service, and they are the only segment that seriously mistrusts the BBC. Gaming behaviour stood out as very important. Those who game are often most significantly more likely to believe in conspiracy theories. These findings led us to explore video games as a new medium for media literacy interventions. And our target audience, sorry, I was speaking looking at my laptop, but you can see here the disengaged battlers, if you look at the statistics, yes, are looking at much more disengaged from media and nationally based information. So I would show you here a video of one of our focus groups where we spoke with a disengaged battler, and basically he's talking about wanting to always do his own research and not trusting any particular sources, whether they are outside of traditional media or within traditional media, which I won't show you now for ease of time. So, right? Easy. Initially, we thought we'd found the perfect link. They play lots of video games, are vulnerable to misinformation, so a game about misinformation seems ideal. But focus groups showed that they didn't want games about information or politics. And many have consciously distanced themselves from these mainstream topics. Some of this resistance traces back to an incident called Gamergate, which in around the early 2010s, progressive politics clashed with gaming culture, reinforcing the idea that games should stay separate from politics. And the real question became, what kinds of games do they enjoy, and how can we engage them without being preachy or patronizing? In the focus groups, we found why they game is to escape daily stress. 4 in 10 reflected that this is often a reflection of lonely lives or difficulties in life. They didn't want the real world intruding into their games. It's a space for escape, not education. So underneath this is a strong desire for respect and recognition. They don't want to feel judged or like they're being talked down to when they're trying to disengage from the world. Sorry, I'm going to skip through here. So insights from psychologists, basically most existing misinformation games focus on fact-checking, assessing accuracy, but we want to take a different approach recommended by psychologists on the psychology of misinformation. So this looks at recognizing bias, identifying emotional manipulation, and understanding social bias as a key influence rather than providing facts. To implement this, once we had done our research, we undertook some game design labs with about 9 to 10 independent game designers. And this was a 2-day lab. And what this collaboration really showed when we were working with game designers was the toxicity in the industry. All of these people you can see have the photos from behind because they all requested anonymity. If they were found to be working in something that could be considered progressive or working with misinformation or disinformation, it could seriously affect their careers or potentially they could be doxxed. And this seems wild for someone who's not part of the gaming community, but is apparently very normalized. And I realize I've just shown how not in with the gamers that I am, but so what we built, these game designers working with us, we put together, and this is a YouTube video I would show you, but it's a very preliminary example of essentially we designed this game called Berserkers that were put together from prompts delivered in the workshop. The idea being you have 2 berserkers, kind of these Nordic warrior types, and both are positively and negatively impacted by the contagious emotion of anger. The idea was this would teach people how their own emotions are impacted and then may have a passive impact on what they're reading or receiving in terms of media. As you can see, this is very 90s vibes because, you know, you have these massively funded game studios, which is predominantly the amount of games that people are playing, the Red Dead Redemptions, the Fallouts, and we're starting at a very lower level, and this was our prototype, so to speak.
So,
almost there.
yeah, okay.
We're working on Spain time, don't worry.
Okay.
Another game that we designed was Solomon's Secret, more of a narrative game, spotting disinformation because of context. Recommendations, you got to make it fun,
Yeah.
otherwise they're not going to engage. If it's too fun, people aren't learning. If it's too educational, people pull away. If it's too boring, they pull away. Loss of purpose, you're losing the message that you ultimately want to deliver. And just quickly, I will do one final plug. We're putting together a toolkit. This is predominantly aimed at game designers, but also media literacy practitioners. So if you are interested in looking at different ways and looking at the psychological literacy of how to reach these disengaged segments, this is the UK, but it is definitely relevant in other countries. Please come and chat to me afterwards because we're putting together a toolkit. And thank you so much. Gracias por la oportunidad.
Amazing, and really, thank you so much. And now it's our latest speaker.
I'll chat
which
with you
is-
later if you have any questions.
Thank you. Yes, we have a lunch. Then we have a lunch where the people can ask whatever they want. And let me see your presentation, which is Peter Prosek from University of Hradec Králové from Czech Republic. He's a postdoctoral fellow in the philosophical faculty. He received his PhD in 2019 from University Paris 1, Panthéon-Sorbonne, and Charles University in Prague. We have an agreement with Charles University in Prague for the Erasmus, I say because for my students. And his revised PhD thesis is about le devenir autre de l'existence, a study la phénoménologie contemporaine. Was published in 2023 by Hernan in Paris. So the title is Successful Fight Against Disinformation, which is a question, going beyond usual psychological and socio-economic explanation. This is your turn. Sorry because you have not many time because we have out of time. But anyway, we're in Spain, so we have.
I will try to do my best. Thank you,
Yes.
Carlos.
Thank you so much.
Here is a brief overview of my talk today. But as I don't have time, I'll immediately start with the first point. The topic of my presentation is, of course, what is largely known as fake news, which is deliberately misleading information presented as news. Since, in my opinion, the greatest damage caused by disinformation does not arise from the small number of people who create and deliberately spread it, but from the masses of its proponents, advocates, disseminators. It seems that the starting point for successfully combating fake news should be a thorough examination of their consciousness. Hence, the most popular solutions of the whole problem relying on psychological and epistemological studies in terms of cognition. The belief in fake news or disinformation is a kind of epistemic dysfunction or vice in the production of knowledge. Someone's alternative views might also be strengthened by cognitive biases such as knowledge neglect, selective exposure, in which people prefer information confirming their beliefs, and so on. The fight against these prejudices and therefore against belief in fake news in general is also influenced by the level of education, intelligence, analytical thinking skills, as well as by age. And of course, this fight is more complicated when fake news appears on social media, where the brain is flooded with new information it cannot process. Based on these psychological and epistemological findings, many solutions have been proposed to reduce the influence of these factors. For example, fact-checking, correction, explanation, strengthening psychological resilience, motivation and nudging to be correct, and there are, of course, already mentioned more systemic proposals such as new journalistic standards, censorship by media platforms, governments, and so on. The problem is that there are many significant difficulties associated with these proposals. While fact-checking, for example, indeed reduces the risk of susceptibility to alternative views, it is slow compared to their extremely rapid spread. And above all, it clearly fails where belief in and dissemination of them are not linked to the need for evidence, but to political identity or ideological commitments. All the other proposals have their considerable pitfalls too. People have to be willing to strengthen their resistance to fake news. Media education is certainly important, but it takes even longer than fact-checking and will not help the strongly convinced persons. And finally, interference with freedom of expression is often seen as censorship. So what should we do? The main difficulty revealed by these imperfections of these popular methods of fighting against fake news is that fake news is a much more complex problem than just a psychological or epistemological one. We need to go beyond cognitive psychology and to address the links among psychological, socio-economic, political, and philosophical aspects of the whole problem. First, it is important to take very seriously what social psychology and epistemology underline. People spread alternative views even if they know they are false. They thereby express belonging to a certain group. They expect something from society in return, or at the very least, they believe others might find it interesting. If we look at political theory of fake news, we see that in such a society it can and does easily happen that some groups start to distrust mainstream news sources and the democratic institutions because they do not consider them to be their own. This creates a very known situation in which it is no longer enough to explain, delete, or legally sanction, for these very practices threaten democracy itself by deepening the impression that groups associating their identity with alternative views are not allowed to be heard. In such a situation, some authors propose that instead of false views on the surface, one should resolve the social conflicts that lie beneath them. In my own approach to fake news, I aim to reveal the deeper sociological and philosophical roots of fake news, but I also claim that neither psychological or socio-economic explanations of the problem are sufficient. Clear evidence of this is that their proponents break many stereotypes related to such explanations. They don't have to be uneducated, less intelligent, or socially excluded, or economically disadvantaged, for example. As I don't have much time, I will conclude by presenting just a few theses, which I will have to develop elsewhere. First, if fake news is a type of political language used by individuals, and this is my thesis, fake news is a political language used by individuals to express their view of the world, then it is necessary to examine the real reasons why a particular person chooses to use fake news language rather than another. That is why, in addition to the political theory of fake news, I am interested in the phenomenology of fake news as an examination of the unique, purely subjective reasons why someone uses fake news language. In other words, along with other authors, I consider the epidemic of fake news to be one of the manifestations of ongoing democratization. And then, if fake news involves a legitimate attachment, to a certain degree legitimate, of course, to a certain vision of the world or to certain political identity, then philosophical imagination can bring about reflections on new forms of democracy that are more sensitive and respectful of all its parts and minorities, that will offer them other means of expression that would not make them resort to fake news. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Very interesting, your philosophical approach and your psychological approach as well. So now is and this session, the first session now, the following session is now in this moment, and I don't know who is the chair of the second. So came here.
Well, can you hear me? Yes? Okay, so we are a little bit out of time, so we will try to keep a good dynamic now. We welcome the speakers and participants in this new session that I think is such an interdisciplinary and interesting one, transversal one. Please remember that you are expected to deliver your presentation, the one that are presenting, in approximately 7-8 minutes. I'm gonna check, and 2 minutes before the time ends, I'm gonna tell you a signal, so it's a reminder to wrap up your presentation. And yeah, so we may start, and let's see if we have questions at the end of the session, and if not, you can just contact the rest of the panelists and maybe ask those questions in the closing panel, in the closing session in the other building. The first one that is presenting is Inés Sousa Guedes from the University of Porto. And she's presenting fake news, spread and susceptibility, insights from an ongoing study in the Portuguese context. So please come here, yes, and you have your presentation over there.
Should I start?
Yeah, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Just a small disclaimer. I won't be presenting any results because this is an ongoing study in Portugal, in the Portuguese context, which is called Fact Check. So Fact Check is a project funded by the La Caixa Foundation through the Social Observatory Research Call in the last year, and it is hosted at the Faculty of Law, the University of Porto, where I'm teaching and researching. Our team is led by me as a coordinator, and we have a team with a multidisciplinary background from biology to psychology, criminology, and journalism. We started from a very straightforward diagnosis, and also in Portugal, that disinformation circulates widely and persistently in the media ecosystem. And we noticed, of course, from the literature that alters perceptions, attitudes, and shapes critical debates around many policy issues. So we wanted first to explore how individuals evaluate the accuracy of information that they receive, and how do they decide to share this fake news from a multi-dimensional perspective. So from the best of our knowledge, of course, this is the first large study in Portugal that tries to understand the susceptibility and the dissemination of fake news through a large sample. We have three main research questions. So the first is, what is the impact of socio-demographic factors and also individual variables? And how does the digital context influence the ability to discern between real and fake news? And also how this set of variables influence the willingness to spread fake news? And lastly, we wanted to understand if there are significant differences in news sharing behavior across different news categories like politics, war, health, and trivia. So our methodology is a multi-step. So we started to involve stakeholders, namely journalists. So we made two focus groups with journalists to understand what would be the content of this fake news and true news, and what type of format would be the best to be used as stimuli. And then we are developing right now our quantitative survey. We will have two parts in this survey. The first one will be the evaluation of 36 news, mix fake and true news. And then we will measure this set of variables. In the end, we will apply this survey to 2,500 individuals from Portugal from January to March. So just to very, very quick to show you that we had this focus group to choose the best stimuli for the project. For the fake news, we use the polygraph journal, which is the first and the most known fact-check journal in Portugal. And then we had this focus group to see the best formats. And the third one that you see, it was the most agreed from journalists to be used in this fact-check study. So all of them agree that this would be the best format. Also, there was an agreement in the categories of news, namely immigration, security issues, war, corruption, and politics in general. So this is an example of stimuli that we are going to use. The first one are fake. For instance, in 2021, about half of the residents in Lisbon were not Portuguese. So this is related to immigration and politics in general. And the former two that you see on your right are true news. So just to finish, this is our plan. We are designing this survey with all of these dimensions in order to capture not only the individual dimensions but also social, cultural, and online habits based on different surveys and literature review. So we think and we believe that we will understand the factors that are related to the susceptibility to fake news and the spreading of fake news among, of course, the Portuguese population. And we hope to give some insights to the public policy in Portugal. Our results will be ready to be published in June, and we invite you to our conference, big conference we will have in Portugal next year in the winter. So you are very welcome there. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ines, and thank you as well for keeping in time. So we have time for enough time for other presentations. So next one will be Gulnara Zakharova from Paris Panthéon-Assas University. And she is presenting from content to publics, a case for focusing on disinformation audiences. So the floor is yours.
So, can I start?
Yes.
Well, hello. First of all, I'd like to say how excited I am to be part of this very timely conference. I'm Gulnara Zakharova. I'm a research and teaching assistant at the Paris Panthéon-Assas University in Paris. And I just recently defended my thesis in September, so it's one of my first communications as a doctor, so I'm really happy to share it with you. And today I'm going to present part of my doctoral research. And the main idea that I would like to share is the importance of focusing not only on disinformation content, but also on its audiences. My PhD focused on RT France's audiences. RT France is a transnational television channel financed by the Russian state and is part of the RT network, which also broadcasts in several other languages such as English, Russian, Spanish, Arabic, German. In French, the broadcasting started in December 2017. But the channel quickly got a very nefarious reputation. It was accused of spreading fake news, of being an organ of propaganda. Because it is financed by the Russian state, it was also reprimanded by the French Audiovisual Regulatory Authority. But despite it all, RT still managed to gather over 1 million followers on YouTube and Facebook by presenting itself as an alternative to mainstream and calling to people to question official truths or dare to question, which was their official slogan. And in early March 2022, RT was banned in the European Union following the Russian invasion of Ukraine, and also the term itself, fake news, is not used in the official EU document. It closely resembles the definition that we can give to fake news, because RT in this document is accused of gravely distorting and manipulating facts. And what I'll try to show in the short time that I have today is that for some members of RT's audiences, these accusations of fake news actually made them trust the channel even more. Sorry, I think I skipped. So very quickly about my theoretical network. I use here the theoretical network of the reading contract developed by Eliseo Veron, which basically calls on not only analyzing the content, but also the way it is received by the audiences. And in order for the content to be effective or efficient, it has to be well received by the audiences, obviously. So RT developed a strategy that I called a turning table strategy, and unfortunately it has nothing to do with a beautiful Adele song of the same name, but it means a situation so that you have an advantage over someone who previously had an advantage over you. And RT actually within its strategy turned all criticism that was directed at it to its advantage. And mainly RT faced criticism from three types of actors. It's the government, the media, and the big tech companies, or GAFAM as we may also call them. And the channel presented itself as a victim of censorship and discrimination. And in RT's narrative, the government is portrayed as being afraid of, I quote, alternative truths. Traditional media are mainstream and complicit with those in power, and big tech companies are American, unsurprisingly, which fits neatly into Russia's long-standing opposition to the United States. Let's now turn to who RT's audiences are. Here we need another theoretical framework which is central to my thesis, which is the framework of subaltern counterpublics, which perceive themselves as excluded or marginalized from the dominant public space. You may know Nancy Fraser, who developed this theory, and basically historically, subaltern counterpublics were, for example, working-class men or women who really were excluded from the dominant public sphere and could not express their opinion or their grievances. But now, with online counterpublics that were developed, for example, by Malon Olm, people may feel marginalization that is not structural or economical or even real 100%, but based on the type of interests and needs that they express, and they don't feel that they are heard in the dominant public sphere. And this feeling of marginalization is what will bond these people to RT, that these people will see actually the channel's discrimination and exclusion, and ultimately its ban as a reflection of their own experiences as excluded from the dominant public sphere. Okay. So very quickly, who are RT's audiences? They often reflect their content or our niche audiences of activists. They are also, what is important here, often anti-establishment, anti-corporation, anti-Western. What it means basically is that these people already don't trust the government, already don't trust the traditional media or the American big tech companies. So whatever these actors will say, however they will criticize RT, it will only make these people trust the channel even more, because for them, these actors are not trustworthy at all. So the research that these conclusions are based on is a research of Twitter accounts that used the notion of fake news and mentioned RT in French. I gathered all these accounts, then I categorized them in positive, negative, and neutral, and then I conducted 30 interviews with 10 people in each category, so positive towards RT, negative, and neutral. And what I found is, I will not go deep into my results, but I found a deep divide between negative and positive respondents, especially in their information practices, and a shared feeling of marginalization and exclusion that existed not only between them, but also which they saw in RT, as you can see in those quotes that I put on the screen. People think that accusing RT of fake news is the same thing that other people who accuse them of being conspiracy theorists or far right or anti-vax. So fake news is seen as a label that is slapped unjustly on RT, the same way that these people feel they are unjustly called those names. In a way that, the notion of stigma developed by Goffman can also be reversed and become a source of pride and unity for some. And this ban actually became an extra motivation for people who even mobilized against the channel's ban through a hashtag and a petition. So it shows that there was really a strong emotional bond between them and the channel. And just to quickly conclude, I wanted to say that for some audiences and in some cases, it's not enough to label, ban, or restrict disinformation, because first of all, sometimes the forbidden fruit is sweeter, so it creates even more interest, and also because for some audiences, it reinforces their effective bond with the media outlet instead, based on this shared marginalization and exclusion that they feel, which is why it's important to study not only the contents, but also the audiences of disinformation. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you so much, Gulnara. Please try to keep on time, okay? Between 7-8 minutes, so we have maybe time to have a discussion, a short discussion afterwards. In third place, we welcome Luis Pedro Ribeiro Rodriguez from Universidade Católica Portuguesa. He's presenting Speculative Attitude in the Construction of Truth, a discussion on the weakening of factual truth consciousness in a post-truth era. So, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Okay, first of all, thank you to all the colleagues here today and to all the organizers of this conference. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Luis Rodrigues, and I'm a PhD candidate at Universidade Católica Portuguesa. And this specific chapter that I'm presenting here today is a theoretical chapter of my thesis. I analyze the social condition of post-truth in conjunction with the advance of financialization of social life. This analysis does not establish a direct causal link between the current crisis of truth and the financialization of everyday life, Nor does it claim that post-truth emerges as a consequence of financialized consciousness. Instead, the study seeks to provide context and identify parallels that may contribute to a deep understanding of the social condition of post-truth. So, according to Dick Bryan, Michael Haverty, the financialization of everyday life means not just that finance sector is getting bigger, but that financial ways of calculating are become more pervasive socially. It means that a conscience permeated by market logic emerge, leading individuals to evaluate everything in terms of risk and future return. According to Andy Brown, nothing is untouched by neoliberal mode of reason and valuation. According to Dave Harvard, neoliberal ideology is distinguished by rhetoric of individual freedom, autonomy, personal responsibility, and the virtues of privatization, free market, and free trade. This rhetoric in turn aligns with the daily practice of individuals who become entrepreneurs of themselves. There is a match between discourse and social practice, a dialectical relationship. In this way, neoliberal discipline generates its own motivations and satisfactions and erases other forms of effects that deviate from market logic. On the one hand, the global financial structure offers a range of individualized mechanisms for generating income. On the other hand, the alarming rise in debt is the most evident harmful between the imbalance of security and risk mediated by financialization. They are independent yet complementary phenomena in neoliberalism. The individualization of the costs and risks associated with social reproduction and the extensive commodification of risk. Within the social conditional, individuals embrace speculation as a driving force and a vital disposition or vital attitude for engaging with the virtual future. According to the glossary of the Economic Times, speculation involves trading a financial instrument involving high risk in expectation of significant returns. The motive is to take the maximum advantage from fluctuation in the market. In this sense, financial speculation presupposes a certain level of abstraction, of volatility, as it profits primarily from the contingents of the future. We emphasize that there is an interrelationship between a scenario degraded by uncertainty and volatility and the emergence of a speculative disposition in individuals. This interrelationship also illuminates key aspects of the social condition of post-truth. According to Frederick Teistrup, when the present is increasingly ingrained with virtuality and the more we bet on, issue promise for, and issue a contingent future, speculation increasingly emerges as from the shadow of the otherwise more robust sense of real and become a predominant mode of agents and orientation. We can identify interrelationship between this dominant speculative mode of agents and orientation and the speculative attitude that precedes the fabrication, for example, of the alternative facts. According to Barreira and colleagues, on average, the use of alternative facts increase the political support of the politicians in respective of fact-checking, which explain why politicians use alternative facts despite facing the risk of being fact-checked. So the negotiation of truth is fraught with risks, and alternative facts function as instruments for speculating on a version of the truth that maximizes individual advantage. Like financial derivatives, alternative facts presuppose uncertainty and only result in volatility. So political actors may speculate on the value of alternative facts as a way to mobilize latent effects in society and secure political support. This negotiation persists insofar as the cost-benefit calculation remain positive, and the same political actors absolve themselves of any social responsibility towards the value of truth. But this speculative attitude is not exclusive to political actors. Individuals take part in the social process of truth production, even if this process belongs to the domain of post-truth. Indeed, the democratic imperative articulated by Hannah Arendt that freedom of opinion must be bound by fact or truth seems just strange today. in the public sphere mediated by digital technologies. According to Giuliano da Empoli, coherence and truth matter far less than the amplitude of resonance. The author referred to the business model of big techs and the strategy to deliver personalized message to each individual, supported by micro-targeting and filter bubbles. The immediate social effect of this is it's a fragmented understanding of reality, as Empoli argues. It's not our opinion about facts that divide us, but the facts themselves. So to finalize, therefore, in a scenario of deregulation and volatility, the value of truth and facts become fungible, detached from the democratic and social significance, and instead these values are instrumentalized by market logic. We conclude with a citation of Manuel Arias Maldonado. Post-truth does not designate a society where nobody believes in truth, but rather one where people tend to believe in their own truth. This is the reference. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thank you for your presentation with such insightful details and also with those powerful quotes. I felt that it was really enriching. And well, next we welcome Carolina Fernandez, presenting Disinformation, Trends in the Dana Photojournalist Flood Coverage. She's from our university, Carlos III. Sorry. Don't worry. It's easier. Yes.
Okay. Tengo hasta y 16, 26.
De todas formas te digo cuando queden dos minutitos.
Well, thank you very much to Raquel, the organizers, especially Carlos Elias. I think he was around. I don't know where he is. Okay. And also my students, that there are some here, and my colleagues, everybody that is attending. And I would like to share some of the results of one of the last studies that I have been conducting together with my PhD student, Celia Ramos. She works for Maldita.es at the research department. And instead of reading information that you can read in the chapter that will be published, I would like to try to explain in a clear way how is the situation, which are the final results of this starting research that we are going to go on with the topic. And it's on how disinformation is a relevant issue in situations of emergency. Today, one of the first conferences was about specifically this topic. And we have seen that there are sensitive moments for disinformation because of a lack of clear data from the authorities. Also, there is an increase in demand for information. And it's an ideal scenario for the spread of falsehoods and misleading narratives. The point is that Dana, it happened just 1 year ago. It happened in October 29th. Today we are in October 13th. So imagine how was the situation 1 year ago. And the point is that we are conducting several researches on the impact of environmental crisis in the disinformation world. And unfortunately, it's not going to be the last. And the last situation is going to be repeated often and often. So we have to understand how to react from the journalistic field, but also from the disinformation sector. And here we wanted to face this specific topic. We have this triple planetary crisis that affect pollution, climate crisis, but also loss of biodiversity. We are focusing our attention to the climate crisis. We are talking about climate crisis instead of climate change because the situation is terrific. And the point is that from environmental journalism, from academic field experts, we see that the goal is not achieved. So we have to figure out new solutions for that. And in this study, we were trying to develop a double method. On one side, we have a qualitative case study in which we were analyzing several verified items, 81, and then also from content analysis from the main generalistic media, El País, El Mundo, La Vanguardia, with all this data that we are seeing here, over 300 articles. And we have some research questions. Some of them are, well, which are the main visual portrayals of data? We see that the information that comes from images is much more effective. And when we have a problem, when we need to understand the situation, an image is much easier to reach our target. So here, it's also sensitive how images can be used to disinform in sensitive situations as this kind of emergencies. We wanted to understand if the way in which media, traditional media, are facing these situations overlap or diverge from those present in disinformation strategies, also which were these manipulation strategies. Also, there is another aspect to reflect about that are the ethical issues. How can we face them? How from the journalistic scenarios, maybe we don't have so much information. There is a lack of literacy for journalists. And for the last point, we see that maybe the storytelling is not the best, the one that we are developing now, that is more focused on problem, but there are other focus that may be more focused on solution or mix-oriented narratives. Here we see that in the main media we have analyzed politicians were protagonic, also the storytelling based on distraction. And if we go down to the last part, we see that scientists were present just in 1%, not talking about the animal-related content. So here we see also how this big problem was faced by media, by traditional media that we trust on. From disinformative purposes, we see from these results we have that digital communication artifacts were protagonic also here, how to decontextualize pre-existing articles, screenshots, supposed official reports. Decontextualization is a huge, important trend that we have to face. And also in this specific case, lying relating to infrastructures was another strategy. Why there were some bridges, some dams that have been destroyed or manipulated by the state for evil purposes. This was another narration. Very, very quick talking about the axis of manipulation. I'm going to show you some examples, just 2 of them because we don't have time. But we were basing our research on photographs, videos, screenshots, maps, radar images, and we saw that recontextualization was the main trend. We have also some synthetic manipulations from deepfakes and cheapfakes, but recontextualization was the most problematic aspect. Here we have an example in which there is a recontextualization of images from California morgues that are supposed to be from Bonaire, and you know that this was one of the main narratives, like there are thousands of people in this commercial center and nobody wants to talk about. Even me, I trust about this because I have been in this commercial center and I was like horrified because it's huge. And there were these kind of examples that were basing the storytelling into, well, manipulating and previous images that didn't correspond to the specific context. We have this other aspect in which we see how La Cruz Roja, for instance, was publishing an information about, well, a help that was going to be shipped to Gaza. And from social networks, there was this informative purpose, like saying, with a misleading post, all this help is going to go to Gaza instead of Valencia. And specific data we have here, this is more related to how journalists, we have to learn how to credit properly images. It's something that has not been done. It's very, very important to see that over 60% of captions omitted the date of capture. So this is something essential to avoid disinformation. Or when we have images, it's not cited the individual photographer, but just the distributing source. I'm going to show you some examples. When we are just focusing on the problem, we see this kind of pictures. If we face just the situation from a solution, we have this. And what we are proposing is to write some articles that are based, well, all of them, if it would be possible, based on at least 2 images with the problem, but also the solution, in order to face it from a perspective that can be more accurate. Also, we have some challenges. There have been also some images, not so many, that were done by generative AI, as this one here, in which we see the president of Spain holding a sign. And we have also false attributions to AI. Here we have a photo from a photographer from la Agencia F, that was a real photo, a pic, but it was said that it was fake through the social networks. So we have new trends that didn't exist before. Here, very easily, we see that disinformation actors are based in decontextualization mainly of previous examples, documents, and photojournalists, they suffer from having a literacy regarding how to cite, how to approach images that come from social networks in a more accurate way. So metadata is the keyword. And very, very quick, if you are interested in this topic, there are now 2 calls for 2 special issues that I am coordinating together with international experts like Ramos Salaverria, Antonio Lopez, Vitor Tomé. One of them is a comedian climate crisis from environmental disinformation to eco-literacy, and it's from the Journal of Media Literacy Education. That is the official journal for the studies of media literacy. And then we have digital journalism, that is, it's like top if you need it, but it's also very interesting to stimulate the debate, the knowledge, and it's on the new concept of eco-fact checking, how we introduce environment in disinformation to really face it from strategical perspectives. Thank you very much. You have my email, and thank you for the time.
Thank you so much, Carolina. So interesting as well. Well, now we have Daniela Domulescu from Babeș-Bolyai University Cluj-Napoca in Romania, and she's presenting Who Falls for Fake News, Psychological Profiles and Predictors of Susceptibility to Disinformation. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm very glad to be here and to hear such interesting presentations. I'm from Romania. I'm a psychologist, and I'm teaching psychology to university. I'm also working a lot with students in journalism, and that's why I'm very interested in interdisciplinary approach of this topic. As I said, I'm coming from Romania, and as you may know, we have a lot of disinformation today related to the war in Ukraine, because we are at the border with Ukraine. We have also a lot of disinformation related to political elections. We had many problems in our past elections, so we need to learn more and to study more how we can tackle this problem. And of course, we have a lot to do, and we developed recently a project to better understand which are the psychological factors involved in being more vulnerable to disinformation. And we study Gen Z, this generation, because we need, and we have already a lot of psychological solutions and social and emotional problems working in this area. And I will present today only some main aspects we took into account in the main literature, and in this project we want to map these factors, and we have a quantitative approach. So we will study on many students in all the universities in Romania these factors, and we will do cluster analysis in order to, let's say, make some profiles, some psychological profiles to help us develop better solutions for this problem. So, of course, we talk a lot about technical solutions, but we only need to know how minds works. So, of course, I'm coming from an applied cognitive psychology perspective. So I will look at some main aspects in this, and of course, if you want to talk more, maybe we can connect afterwards. So the main topics when we look at the studies, recent studies about the people, about the concepts that are very relevant in tackling disinformation and the vulnerability to fake news and to conspiracy also, are related to these four approaches. Firstly, we can look at an individual level as a personality trait. And I will just explain two personality traits that are related to this. After this, we will look at some thinking patterns, some, let's say, cognitive biases. I've heard already something about this in previous presentations. And also, we need to look deeper on emotions and on emotional thinking as we are talking about this, and also on social dynamics and how this is related to our perspective. We need to look on these perspectives together and to make these profiles on each populations, because we need to develop better targeted interventions. And if we look at personality, there are some recent studies showing that consciousness as a personality trait is mainly related to this problem of being more vulnerable to false information. And people with low consciousness are more vulnerable, and with high consciousness are, let's say, this is a protective factor against this. So it's important also to see if at the level of a population we have this, which is the rate of the consciousness, because we know from personality psychology that there are, in different population, there is different level of consciousness as a population. And also if we think about Gen Z, as I told you, we study Gen Z, we may see that due to, let's say, due to the fact that they have low frustration tolerance, they are not so, they don't develop so easily this threat, actually. Also, we can look at the neuroticism, which is related to this fact that people that are having this threat are more, let's say, are engaging in more fake news, sharing more fake news, because this means that they are feeling less stressed if they are doing this. So if I'm a person that has a high anxiety or high level of negative emotions, a strategy that helped me, let's say, deal with it is to share a lot of information on social media without checking them. So we need to also look at this. I found some interesting studies showing that altruism may be related to sharing false information, because some people have this altruism. They want to help others have access to the information. So I want to do something good, and I'm sharing fastly the information without checking it, and this can be a problem. And of course, I think all of you knows about fear of missing out. Some people are doing also this kind of propagation of information, false information, only because they are feeling a lot of anxiety and they are feeling they are out of the topic. Okay. And if we look at cognitive styles, we can think about this. These are the main biases related to this problem of disinformation, and we know that the most important thing is that we are already thinking something, we are founding, and we are searching for the information that confirm our biases. And also, it's important here to know that also people that are highly educated and highly intelligent are prone to disinformation, mostly due to this fact that they have the illusion that they have the truth. So some of the people, as you can see, people can reason like lawyers, not like scientists, when they want to have to think that they have the truth. So I think for us this is also very important today. And of course, if you look at the emotion factor, I just want to point out something, because I don't have time anymore. I want you to know that as a psychologist, the most important bias here is that we think emotionally, and if we feel in some ways, we just will do anything to escape from that feeling. So that's why if we want to address the problem, we need to look mostly at the emotional factors. And I just want to let you with this aspect that we need also to have technological solutions, but we need to also understand how people are reacting in the context, and also to make contextual profiles if we want to help people be more, let's say, aware of the disinformation and of their vulnerabilities. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Daniela. It's been a pleasure to listen to you. Next, we welcome Luciana Faccio, the University of Siena in Italy. She is presenting a new tool for the study of public opinion formation with an application to debunking strategies, the deliberately enhanced focus group. So the floor is yours.
Thank you. Okay. Hi, everybody. I am very glad to be here. Today, I will present an ongoing project. So, also for me, it's I will share with you some preliminary findings and the research design. I am a part of a team that unfortunately are not here, so but I represent them. So I just skip that because I know that we don't have time. But let me spend 2 words about the motivation of our research. So what encouraged us to do this is that we are aware that surveys measure the content of opinions, but opinions are shaped by conversations and also context. So we want to capture both and go beyond the staticity of the service, and also take into account the conversational and interactive dimension. So we present this approach to study public opinions. That is a mix between the traditional focus groups and the deliberative mini-publics. So it's just a mix between them. And the central theme here is that with the folks, we try to enhance, for this reason is enhancing focus groups, the deliberative element that is implicit in the focus groups. So for this reason, we have the defogger, that is a participant that is act as a participant that intervenes with questions, in this case contrafactual and metacognitive, because we are interested in about this kind of reasoning, and raise observations and questions during the focus groups. Okay, so our research design, as we want to, in some way, observe how or if the interventions of the defogger in some way have an impact during the discussion, and how is the impact. So we did 6 focus groups, 3 in person and 3 online, in Rome, Milan, Siena, with 8 participants each from different parts of Italy. And during the recruitment, we already know that there are people with pro-vaccines and against vaccines. Sorry, the topic was vaccines. And we have the moderator that leads the conversation, but he collaborates in incognito, obviously, with the defogger during all the process. So at the beginning of the folks, we have the moderators intervenes with the pre-banking strategies depending on the type of the folks, so or contrafactual or metacognitive, and after that the focus group starts. So as I said before, it's an ongoing project, so I just want to share with you some quantitative preliminary findings. So we did before and after the focus group, or the FOC, sorry, it's more easy, focus group, some questionnaires in which we measure different things, like conspiracy thinking or bullshit receptivity or the attitudes towards vaccines. And also we measure the vaccine distrust. So we can we can observe here that we have even if slight reduction in the vaccine distrust after the focus group, and also that a reduced variance in particular in the experimental focus groups that indicates more homogeneous responses. As you can observe, they are not statistical significant, these findings, but obviously we need to take into account that we are talking about 38 persons, so it's very, very a small sample, so it's quite normal. In terms of qualitative, I don't pretend to read that, so I just want to share with you this excerpt in which it is from online the FOC, in which a participant A introduced, he says, COVID was intentional, and the reason, according to this person, was because of the population. So at this point, the FOC intervenes with a contrafactual reasoning, contrafactual because it was a contrafactual FOC. And the FOC says, if true, then too few deaths for the population. At distance, another participant also reinforced and aligns with the position of the FOCs. So the participant in some way softened stance and also in displays some uncertainty also in their knowledge that he just a few minutes ago mentioned. And so just to finish.
Yeah, you have time.
Okay. I just want to leave you with some takeaways and next steps. So in the FOCs we observe dynamics opinion shifts. That is what we want to test, as I said before, and see if this in some way these rational wiser in some way have an effect in the conversation. Also that the FOC enhance rational debate quality and utility also to study conspiracy thinking and debunking, and I just want to ask because I forgot to write here evidently the debunking strategies. And just to next steps, just to larger the sample, since as you see, we are not statistical significant, but probably it's also for this reason. And also compare across other issues, other topics like climate change. Also, I forget this, sorry, I have some mistake here. And Ukraine war. These two topics because, as I said before, this is an ongoing project and it makes part of a biggest project in which we already test these two, even if with other experiments, these two topics. And thank you so much for your attention. And I'm sorry if I was faster.
Thank you so much, Luciana. Also a really interesting one. So, seventh place, we welcome Martin Pausin, University of St. Cyril and Methodius in Narva, Slovakia. And he's presenting gamification for media literacy and critical thinking. So, whenever you want.
Hello, and thank you very much for having me. My name is Martin, and I will be presenting our
research, yes.
Our research, which I did with my PhD controller. We focused on gamification as a tool to prevent disinformation. Disinformation today affect not only democratic decision making, but also public health and global security. And with this spread of narratives, it undermines the trust in the basic understanding. So we used gamifications because its traditional awareness campaign often fail to emotionally engage users. Gamification offers an interactive approach that motivates users to think critically and reflectively. And also another reason is that gamification can be easier used on younger adults or maybe children, so they can understand the concept of gamification and to be able to prevent disinformation taking since the young age. So disinformation works because it taps into how our cognitive biases work, and illusionary effects aligns with beliefs. And the algorithms of usually social media reinforces those bases. So, for example, those vulnerabilities are hardwired, so we need strategies that address them rationally but psychologically, and that's where we try to use gamification. Media literacy, I think you know how media literacy works, and gamification can increase the motivation of active participation. So the principles of gamifications are points, feedback, challenges, narratives, and social elements. Those can be used either in games or either as elements in basic research or as rewards for the students during education. So it works through instinct motivation, so like curiosity or mastery, and also as the reward. So we did case studies on 3 games. Those are Bad News, Go Viral, and Harmony Square. Bad News is a game that in Describe, a player takes on the role of disinformation agent, and instead of being warned about fake news, they create it themselves. So it helps students understand, or the players understand, how disinformations are created, and how in the future avoid being sustained to the disinformation. So it uses satire, feedback, and progression to build learning and emotional distance from manipulation tactics. For the game Go Viral, it launched during COVID-19. I think it was made in cooperation with British government, and it's fast, emotional, and mobile first. It focuses on a player to spread misinformation using fear, anger, and scapegoating. The goal is to make them aware of how emotion drives engagement. And for the shared result, in this participants in this shared experience, they have better understand how the disinformation awareness works. And for the Harmony Square, this one is storytelling to expose political manipulation. Player take on the role of chief disinformation officer in a fictional town. It doesn't moralize. It uses immersion to help players how to understand political polarization and how it's manufactured. And it's narrative driven, so this one is a bit longer to play than the other ones before. So the psychological mechanisms, those break down into incubation theory, that exposing people to weak points of manipulation to build resistance, narrative immersion, when players are emotionally engaged, they remember better, and feedback and social proof, players see how their action influence others. So these games work because they don't just inform, they engage the user emotionally, socially, and psychologically. So for the design recommendation for how to either make a game or what to do with how to take gamification into consideration when helping fight disinformation, you can try to simulate role-play, so you let users export disinformation from the inside, or you can reflect on feedback, so you help them understand how the tactics work, emotion and narrative, so engagement makes learning stick. Real-world relevance, so games should reflect how misinformation spread online, and disinformation and ethics, design with cultural sensitivity and inclusion in mind, it's necessary as well for the disinformation prevention. So, in conclusion, gamification is not a universal fix, but it offers a powerful way to engage people in a complex issue. When designed with care, serious games can help users build cognitive and emotional resilience to disinformation. So, not to take gamification as one universal silver bullet, but as a whole concept that can help with each other. So, thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Martin. So practical and also so interesting. Our last communication will be delivered by Marcio Fugner from the Amsterdam University of Applied Sciences from the Netherlands. And he's presenting selective agreement in LLM debates, ensuring effects and resistance to disinformation. So you're in charge of wrapping up this session.
Good afternoon, everyone. Is everyone still awake? Ready for the last session? Today we have heard a lot about the risks and opportunities with AI to fight disinformation. But with the rise of false content online, it can seem as if the technology can help us to handle this problem. My name is Daniel Dofger, and I will share the results of my experiments where I observed AI or large language models engage in subjective debate and to see the influence of disinformation on these debates. So, why would you use LLM debates or AI debates? An LLM is a large language model like ChatGPT, and a debate is multiple instances of a large language model being tasked with the same problem to improve factual accuracy. And this has been tried out in verifiable domains such as math and programming. But I was interested on the impact or whether this would work in subjective domains. Would the LLMs actually engage into a discussion or not? So I looked into the effects of anchoring. I will get to that definition in a second. And also into the effects of disinformation being added to the discussion. And through comparative analysis of multiple experiment configurations, I was able to see patterns of convergence or resistance to this disinformation. So, as I said, I wanted to use a subjective topic, but that's quite difficult to measure. So the topic of discussion would be the placement of a political party on a spectrum. What you can see here on the x-axis is economic involvement with economic left to economic right, meaning lots of government involvement to less government involvement, and the y-axis being a green, alternative, libertarian, opposing traditional authoritarian and nationalistic scale. You see some Dutch political parties here, and these positions are defined by the Chapel Hill expert survey that served as a reference for the performance in these debates. I will briefly discuss the discussion framework that was used. So the large language models went through an iterative discussion about placing a political party on the spectrum. So they were all tasked with placing the political party on the spectrum and had to discuss and potentially agree on the position of this political party. This discussion would last until the number of rounds, the limit of number of rounds was hit, or until consensus was reached, which means that the political parties were all within a certain threshold. So, two main, so in the first two scenarios, I looked into anchoring, which is revealing the numerical positions during the discussions, because large language models are really sensitive to their input. So I wanted to see what the effect would be if you reveal the positions during the discussions. That was tested in the first two scenarios. And in the last two scenarios, I looked into the impact of adding disinformation to the discussion. There was an agent that was tasked with disseminating noise and trying to influence the discussion of the collaborative agents. So the collaborative results, at the bottom you can see that, show that when when the positions were revealed, so in the second scenario with anchoring, there was a consensus rate of 100% compared to a consensus rate of 86% when the positions weren't visible. Through qualitative analysis, I also saw that the linguistic diversity was decreased when the positions were visible. So the agents were quick to say, well, there's a quick consensus about the placement, let's just quickly agree and finish the discussion. And that is also visible by the number of rounds needed to reach a consensus. The distance to the expert reference here is 1.3, and not really there wasn't really a difference visible between the two scenarios. More interestingly, the results of the disinformation agent being added. So in both scenarios, there was no consensus reached. What we can see is that the distance is similar to what you just saw, the collaborative results. So the performance of the collaborative agents was quite the same, even though they weren't able to reach a consensus. And what you can see on the graph next to it is two lines at the bottom that are the collaborative agents and one line at the top. The y-axis is an average of their positions. So this shows that the average position of the disinformation agent was drastically different compared to the collaborative agent's position. And it seems as if they just simply ignored the disinformation and aligned with each other and continued in their own opinion that they might have. Yeah, maybe their own bubble indeed. So we saw that anchoring, the revealing of positions, speeds convergence and the reaching of consensus in discussion, but reduces linguistic diversity. Besides, disinformation disrupts consensus, but not the plausibility or the accuracy compared to the expert reference. And it seems as if the consensus that the collaborative agents reach is simply through alignment or pattern repetition, and not per se through simulated deliberation or a discussion. So I explored how LLMs form consensus and resist misinformation in subjective debates based on their intrinsic biases. Because it seems as if these large language models simply align to what has been in their training data and seem to ignore whatever is challenging it and doesn't fall into this opinion. There are some limitations. I've used a small agent set, and the discussion context was quite simplified. And for future work, it would be interesting to look into different domains, for example, different countries, see how the results compare to that, or even try to see how this multi-agent debate works in disinformation or evaluation of disinformation. I want to thank you for the opportunity to present my work here. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Daniel. Well, as we don't have time for an open debate, but we will have time to pose those questions to the other speakers, I welcome Professor Carlos Elias. He is going to tell us where to go and how to proceed. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Raquel. Well done. Because we are on time. Well done, Raquel. And now we are the closing session and the networking session, but in the 17 building, where this is the building where we start our session this morning. So we move now, follow me, and we go to 17 building to the closing session and the networking session. Okay? So we move there.